All right, let's see. Here, we're set up there. All right, you guys ready? We got a baby tonight. All right. You guys ready? You guys ready online? All right. Today is Wednesday. First of all, April 5th, 2023, and this is my little Bible study, and this is the Wednesday night edition, we might as well just call it. So that means we're in the book of Exodus. We're going to pick it up in chapter 23, verse 18, which is where we left off last time we were in Exodus, all right? So we just finished Passover, finished up all the stuff with Passover. All right, so now we're going to continue on with some laws, and then we're going to move into some other things, which I'll break down as we go. All right? Let's see, what do I want you to remember about this? At Passover, actually, we talked a little bit about this. Remember those two guys we couldn't remember the name of them that were Aaron's sons? We're going to talk about them tonight.
Two sons.
Right. And you remember we talked about a little bit about the Jewish tradition about why they were pronounced dead, and when they, well, this is a take on the Jewish tradition. This is where it kind of comes from, and you'll recognize it as we go. All right. And as for you, that you'll just fill in. You'll get it as we go. What we're talking about. All right. Anyway, first I want to say, Father, we ask this find people with open eyes and open ears in Jesus' name, amen. All right, we're going to pick it up in verse 18 of chapter 23 of the great book of Exodus, and it reads, "Thou shalt not offer the blood of thy sacrifice with leavened bread, right? Neither shall the fat of my sacrifice remain until morning." This is talking about the burnt portion of the sacrifice, make sure that it's completely consumed. The reason why is that it's holy and it doesn't need to be scavenged. Is the whole point of it, all right? 23 on 19, "The first of the fruits of thy land thou shalt bring to the house of the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not seethe a kid in his mother's milk." All right, so let's take the first one, the first fruits, right? This follows with Cain's offering, right? It wasn't the first, it was just he brought an offering. Right, so it was an unworthy sacrifice to begin with, right? Okay, now this seething a kid in its mother's milk. You have one group that says this means that you can't have gravy with beef. Okay, but I don't think it has anything to do with that. Matter of fact, I don't think it really has anything to do with food other than this. Is that what does it mean to seethe? So seethe means to boil, right? So it's saying you can't take an animal like a calf. You can eat it. It's delicious when they're young. Veal is amazing.
Wonderful.
Yes. All right. But I look at it like this. God considers an insult to, you can eat the calf fine, but to take the calf and to boil it in the milk that was made to nourish it is just kind of a sin against nature almost. You see, it just shows no compassion. I mean, yeah, God loves animals. They were all over the first age. They're all over the second age. They'll be in the third age. So he's really fond of his animals to begin with, right? And I think that just shows the compassion that he actually has. So he said, no problem to eat the calf, right? No problem, it's your food.
No problem to drink
right. No problem to drink the milk, right? Or to boil something else in the milk, even make gravy or things like that. No problem, but just don't boil the child in the milk that is meant to nourish it. Right? I really think that's all it has to do with.
That's morbid in its own sense.
Right, it is. It's just a morbid idea when you get to thinking at it, right?
Where think about how many people use an egg wash for like their chicken.
That's right.
Same thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Same thing.
But there's no prohibition against eggs, and I know. Yes. Yeah, okay, but that's really what I think it is. I don't think it has anything to do. Because some people do say that it's about making gravy and eating it with beef at the same meal. It's okay to have one or the other, but not at the same table, is what they trying to say that. But actually, I don't buy that. That doesn't make enough sense.
A lot of beef back then had to have been real lean too.
So oh yeah.
Fat content.
They would have had a lot of gravy with it, right? Yeah. They sure would have. Okay. All right, so let's move on then. Verse 20. Now we're kind of shifting gears a little bit, all right? Behold. So we're talking about the conquest now of Canaan, all right? Behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. All right, listen to what it says a while. Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions. All right? For my name is in him. Now, there's a lot of people that have a lot of supposition about who this actually is, and my opinion about this is we're talking about the Archangel Michael, I think. And the reason why is because Michael is the archangel for Israel.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I don't think we're talking about Christ, because what it says that he will not pardon your transgressions. And Christ taught that he didn't come to condemn anyone but to save the world, right? So I don't think that's who that actually is. So I do think it's either Michael, or it doesn't matter. It's an angel, some high and
Real
rather strong.
somebody,
Yeah, it wouldn't
some
matter.
archangel.
Yeah, somebody, God told them to go do, so they got all they need to do
Yeah.
with what they have. But it's just kind of something to come out and think
It
about,
sounds like
right?
something that Michael would pick up the sword for, you know what I mean?
That's right, and that's right. We're talking about the protection of Israel, and that is his job. Okay. 22. But if thou shalt indeed obey his voice and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto thine enemies and an adversary unto thine adversaries. All right. So that's a pretty big deal. Now I've seen what this is with my own eyes. I've seen what happens when actually God goes before somebody. All right, and when you get there, anybody who's left has no will to really fight. All right, and that's what it means when he said, "You'll go before you, and you'll be their adversary." I remember what it said once. We've already had Israel. Remember in the dark, where the angel, there was a flame, but it turned out to be an angel, and went, and wherever the enemy was in the dark, and wherever Israel was in the light, and the whole night they didn't encounter each other on even one time. But anyway, so you understand kind of a little bit about what you're doing. When God is against somebody, it's over, all right, and it's done. That's why it says, it is written in the book of Daniel, that when Christ shows up, he will stop the Antichrist without even raising his hand. All right, yeah, we've talked a little bit about that before. Just something kind of to think about, all right? 23, for mine angel shall go before thee, and bring thee into the Amorites, and the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and the Canaanites, and the Hivitites, and the Jebusites, and I will cut them off. Now, notice that there's 6 groups here, okay? And I want you to just kind of lock that in your mind just a little bit, all right? We have 6 different groups that are named here. Listen to what it says. Thou shalt not bow down to their gods, nor serve them. Bye. The keys are over there. All right, thou shalt not bow down to their gods, nor serve them, nor do after their works. All right, now we know exactly what we're talking about here. We're talking about the gods in Egypt, right? Because they're straight out of Egypt. So they know exactly what he's talking about, all right? But thou shalt utterly overthrow them and quite break down their images. Now there's a whole set of laws about when you encounter a graven image, how to destroy it. And we'll get into that eventually on what that actually requires of that. But there's actually things that you do. Right. It's not just so much as throw them down, because then they can be rebuilt. When he says to destroy, it's ground to dust, right? It's scattered, broken into pieces, ground to dust, scattered out in the hills. Outside of the camp, it's gone forever, basically, is what the point is. All right, but he's kind of hinting towards that, all right? Verse 25, and ye shall serve the Lord your God, and he shall bless thy bread and thy water, and I will take sickness away from the midst of thee. All right, now, we're talking about sickness here, so what are the set of laws that we're talking about pertaining to health, right? Now, we've talked a lot about what's eaten, but they're not all the health laws that there are. Okay, there's a lot more to go with it. When we actually study health laws and get into that part of the law, we'll kind of draw that out. But there's the things that are related to health, like agriculture laws, because if you can feed your people, well, you're a lot healthier people than a starving one.
Well, I'm sure there's laws like within agriculture too to protect the environment.
Yeah, it does. Most of it has to do with the protection of the environment, right? We have the 7 days, the 7-year Sabbath of land. You have the fact that you have to plant your furrows and they can't bake straight furrows. They have to be winding. They have to wind through, not straight. Right? So there's a lot. Don't plant certain things together like cucumbers and cantaloupes, because you get a cupola and it's a high road that sucks. It's not worth for anything, right? So there's all these other laws that regard health that are not directly related to like animals that you eat, right?
I got you.
All right. But what he's saying though, if you go and obey all this, and it'll take sickness away from the people. Remember what he said also about the other law, that it'll be well with you if you obey this. And I think I've drawn that out, how, well, things are not well with us. We look in our culture, you know, we have more mass shootings this year in 2023 than we have years in
Look at the-
2023,
Yeah. Just
or days in 2023, right?
the zombies.
But
running
it's
around
amazing,
in
right?
Maryland, yeah.
That's right. The people mindless.
Mindless.
Now, so we're not a healthy people, and part of that has to do with the fact of the way that we take our health. All right. Another part of that has to do with that we don't do other laws that keeps a healthy society, like execute murderers,
Yeah.
all right, and things like this. All right. These all contribute to the sickness. All right. And he's saying that you obey all these things, and it'll just be gone from your people.
And we'll look at the sickness too
Uh-huh.
that has come from not like with the murderers. Look at the culture we have.
That's right.
Worshiping these people.
You got sickos everywhere. That's right.
This crap that's going
Well,
on
that's
right
right.
now.
It gets absolutely ludicrous.
Sir, yeah.
Yeah. Verse 26. There shall nothing cast their young, nor be barren in thy land, the number of the days I will fulfill. All right. So you're not going to have very few people or very few things that can conceive and bear forth fruit. All right. Which that's a big deal when you start talking about particularly agricultural people who are into animal husbandry. That's a part of the blessing of health. All right. 22. I will send my fear before thee. I will destroy all the people to whom thou shalt come, and I will make all thine enemies turn their backs unto thee. I will send hornets before thee, which shall drive out, 1, the Hittites, 2, the Canaanites, 3, the Hittites from before thee. That's only 3 of the 6, though. All right, listen to what it says. All right. Now here I want to ask you to think about the duality of the Bible, how some of it is written, and it does mean one thing in one time, all right, but it also has a deeper meaning that applies much later, all right? Say the tribes of Israel, for one, all right? I want you to think about where these tribes. Now, when we talk about tribes, we're really getting into them. We're in the book of Exodus, and in the book of Genesis on Sunday night, well, we're working into how those tribes come into existence and all those things, and then go into the book of Exodus. So by the time we're finished with both books, you'll have a pretty solid basis on the history and understanding of Israel, which is very important throughout the entire Bible. I want you to listen to what it says about it. Remember, there's 3 that are left, right? I will not drive them out from before thee in 1 year. It's not going to do it that way with the 3 that are left. Lest the land become desolate, and the beasts of the field multiply against thee. All right. So these people have already tamed the wilderness. And he knows if he drives them out, by the time they get populated enough to take it back, that nature, they'll have to fight nature to get it back. And he said he doesn't want that. All right. So what he says. Now think about the United States, because you're talking about them tribes, right? And they said these tribes going into the promised land. Now think about the United States. Little by little, or by little and little, I will drive them out from before thee, until thou be increased and inherit the land. I will set my bounds from the Red Sea, even into the sea of the Philistines, and from the desert unto the river. For I will deliver the inhabitants of the land unto your hand, and thou shalt drive them out from before thee. Okay, now think about the history of the United States, what was just said. Our history is exactly that. All right, when our ancestors first came here, they didn't come in massive waves. They came little by little. All right, and as time passed and they grew more populous, they began to drive the Native Americans westward. All right, just exactly like it says. From what sea? From one sea to another sea, from sea to shining sea. Now, early in American history, there was this group that came around and said it was manifested as our destiny.
I've heard that too.
All right,
Yeah.
that the United States be from sea to shining sea, just like here, from the Red Sea even into the sea of the Philistines. All right, so all the land in the middle. And this concept in the early American history was called manifest destiny. It was used as a rallying cry for utter mistreatment of the native populations.
Yeah,
right.
Native population.
All right. Now that's just the truth of the matter. I mean, you can't hide from history. It's full of blood. Most of it's on our hands. That's just it's history. It's just the way it is. All right? But it doesn't see. But you do see the exact schematic for the birth of the United States right there.
Right there, yeah.
Within it. All right? That was exactly how our history follows. That it was destiny that we would be from one sea to the other sea, from the one river all the way up. All right? And that's exactly the description of the United States and North America. All right, and that's just I'm going to hit on a little bit more on this, so just hold on to that as we go, because the next chapter's got some even more interesting stuff. All right? Thou shalt make no covenant with them, these people, right? Nor with their gods. They shall not dwell in the land, lest they make thee sin against me. For if thou serve their gods, I will surely be a snare unto thee. And that's exactly why we are a sick people. All right? We, as a rule, don't even know what God's law says. And en masse, we're kind of rejected, even on ignorance mostly, but nonetheless, that's still what's happened. All right? So that accounts for the sickness that we're enduring in the end days, and in the end times anyway. And it's exactly the way God's planned it, so just hang on. It's going to get just a bit worse. All right, now let's go over to 24. All right. What time we got? All right. All right, listen to what this says, because now we get to these two characters we were missing. Okay, during Passover, we were trying to come up with these two guys' names, and for some reason it was escaping me. And my dad, he couldn't remember them either, but here they are.
Mine's like a seed.
And he said unto Moses, all right, it's 24. And he said unto Moses, come up unto the Lord, thou, Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, which are Aaron's first two sons. All right? And 70 of the elders of Israel worship ye afar off. All right? So he wants the first two priests, Aaron and Moses, and 70 elders, right? And they're go up, but they're not to go all the way up on the mountain. They're supposed to go off on the one side.
To look from afar.
Yeah, to look from afar, right? Now, this is kind of begins to get into the Jewish tradition that we were talking about, right? These are the two people, okay? So listen to the rest of the story. Verse 2. And Moses alone shall come near the Lord, but they shall not come nigh, neither shall the people go up with them. And Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord and all the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which the Lord has said, we will do. And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord and rose up early in the morning and built an altar under the hill and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel, one pillar for each tribe in front of the altar. And he sent young men of the children of Israel, which offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto the Lord. And Moses took half of the blood and put the blood in a basin, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. And he took the book of the covenant, the one that he had written, and read in the audience of the people, and they said, all that the Lord has said we will do, and be obedient. Verse 8, and Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people, and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which the Lord hath made with you concerning all these words. It's the very words that we're studying right now. Still applying to those people who are still studying it. All right. Verse 9. Then went up Moses, Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel. And they saw God of Israel, and there was under his feet, as it were, a paved work of sapphire stone, and as it were, a body in heaven in its clearness. All right, now he's searching for words. Okay,
Yeah, that's
it's
what I was
just.
going to ask, because I've seen the sapphire.
We've talked about that, and we've talked about it before, right? In Ezekiel.
Yeah, God.
Yeah, with
why?
Ezekiel,
What-
right.
What is the sapphire?
It's just purity and
Okay.
clearness. It seems to be a really consistent description that's used whenever God appears. And I really don't have a satisfactory
Yeah, I wanna
answer
know
what it is. Right, I do too. But it's not sapphire because that's not what it says. It says,
work.
it says as it were, a paved work. He don't know how to explain what he's seeing. But he's saying, okay,
Maybe it's
it's
the light that's
it's
giving off
yeah,
light
maybe,
or something.
but he's saying whatever it is, he's standing on it. It looks like it could be paved. It's a way of describing a road,
Yeah.
you know. And so he's just, and then in his body of heaven, in his clearness, he's just saying it's utterly pure. There's nothing sinful. That would be a good way to look at it. All right. Now it was Aaron, Moses, Nadab and Abihu, and the 70 elders that saw this.
Yeah.
Now, and upon the nobles of the children of Israel, he laid not his hand. Also, they saw God and did eat and drink. All right, listen to that. See, they're eating and they're drinking, so they're having a good old time up there. Now, you remember, the Jewish tradition says this is where they
throwing
get.
down.
They're throwing down
yeah.
with a party, and they're just getting stupid.
Yep.
And then God, according to the Jewish tradition, okay, let's be clear about this. According to their tradition, that God pronounces these two knuckleheads dead there,
Yeah.
but he doesn't kill them then because he doesn't want to detract from the giving of the Torah to the children of Israel.
The monumental.
So he just lets them go on with what they're doing, and he just continues focusing on what he's doing. And then when they offer strange fire, eventually that's when he executes them and they both die. And that's how come Eleazar, the third son, who becomes the high priest, right? He's the third line. He's the third in line from Aaron, the first priest. Yeah, other than Moses, I guess is how you would look at it. And he carries on the priesthood. Now remember,
It's hard to think of Moses as a priest. And not a
yeah,
prophet.
yeah.
I mean, he's a prophet.
He's everything.
So,
He's one. He's number. Other than Christ, he's the top dog when it comes to prophets. I'm concerned, you know. But anyway, that's their tradition that has to do with that. Now that's not. It does make a little bit of sense. So he just holds off and then carries it out later, which we'll get to when they get whacked too because of it. But that was verse 11. Now verse 12. And the Lord said unto Moses, come up unto me in the mount and be there, and I will give thee tablets of stone and a law and commandments which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. And Moses rose up, and his ministers, Joshua and Moses, went up into the mount of God. And he said unto the elders, tarry ye here for us until we come again unto you. And behold, Aaron and Hur are with you, and if any man have any matters to do, let them come unto them. All right, so Moses doesn't know how long he's going to be gone, but he sure made sure there was a judge standing in his stead that can deal with stuff while he's gone. All right, so it just shows you Moses has a mind that thinks just a little bit on the ball, because he's kind of making this kind of up as he goes, I would think. And Moses went up in the mount, and a cloud covered the mount, and the glory of the Lord abode upon Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And the seventh day he called unto Moses out of the midst of the cloud. And the sight of the glory of the Lord was like a devouring fire on top of the mount in the eyes of the children of Israel. And Moses went into the midst of the cloud and gat him up into the mount. And Moses was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights. Now, don't pass this up. Well, yeah, that's just coming up. That's not until chapter 34. All right. So we got a little bit more going on. But yeah, he's gone up there now.
Yeah.
Don't miss that. Okay, Moses went in the midst of the cloud. The cloud wasn't on top. Moses walked into the cloud, and he went from disappearing in the cloud to being on top of the mountain. All right, don't miss that. All right. It says, and the sight of the glory of the Lord was like a devouring fire. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, and Moses went in. Okay, just verse 17, listen. And the sight of the glory of the Lord was like a devouring fire on top of the mountain in the eyes of the children of Israel. And Moses went into the midst of the cloud and gat him up into the mount. So he was down at the bottom, walked into the cloud, and he was at the top of the mountain. And I just think that's kind of cool because Moses, that's a long way. Yeah. And Moses was in the mountain 40 days. All right. I want to go we got to go a little bit farther. All right. Because we're going to start talking about the sanctuary, and we're going to get to the Ark of the Covenant. All right. But there's a couple things that pertain to what we were talking about Israel, about this earth, or about this nation being founded in this like manner of the Old Testament, and how it relates to us. Well, there's more related to the sanctuary that kind of supports that, and I want to draw it out real quick. And then we'll be done for tonight. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speaking to the children of Israel, that they bring me an offering, every man that giveth it willingly with his heart, ye shall take my offering. All right. Offering what? There were slaves. Remember, God put it on the hearts of the Egyptians to give unto a lot to the children of Israel, right, as they were leaving. All right, so they have plenty of gold, plenty of silver, plenty of valuables, things like this. So they're not just a poor people.
Yeah.
The promise was you'll leave a mighty people and much richer than when you went in. And boy, they did. Not only that, not just in material wealth, but they also remember the mixed multitude that they brought with them. So it just wasn't the children of those tribes. It was all kind of people came out of Egypt with
all
them.
kinds of Egyptians that went,
Okay, we're switching teams, right? Yeah. That's right. So don't let those kind of things. So there was a lot of Egyptian wealth that just exited with Israel, right? All right. Listen to what it says. And this is the offering which ye shall take of them: gold, silver, and brass, purple, blue, scarlet, fine linen, and goat's hair. Just a little bit farther. Ram skin dyed red, badger skin, shittim wood, oil of light, the spice and anointing oil, the sweet savor of insects, onyx stones to be set in the ephod, and then in the breastplate. Okay, we studied the breastplate before, right? All right. And let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. All right. According to all that I show thee, after the pattern of the tabernacle and the pattern of all the instruments thereof, even so shall you make it. All right. He's going to give them that pattern. All right. Now, we're not going any farther than 9, so we're on the Ark of the Covenant next, but I want to make a connection that we read over, but I wanted to finish all the way far. First of all, verse 5 says badger skin there, okay? A badger is an unclean animal, all right? Now, if you take your Strongs and you look this up, because badger skin is used to cover the Ark of the Covenant, all right? Okay, well, no. There's no way that these people would let the skin of an unclean animal ever touch the Ark of the Covenant, all right? People can catch this if they understand clean and unclean, all right? Now, if you take your Strongs, let's see, it's verse 5, right? Take your Strongs and you look it up, what you're going to find out, and badger skins is a takash, all right, and it's a fourth denomination, a clean animal with fur, probably a species of antelope, all right, and then it's got badger after it, all right? So it's not a badger. Right, it's an antelope skin. Now, antelope has a hoof that splits and it chews its cud, so it's a clean animal. So, from a ceremonial standpoint, it would have been fine to cover it with antelope skin, but it would never have allowed an unclean animal to touch the Ark of the Covenant. Right? They would have lost their ever-loving mind. It happens. I mean,
bad.
Yes, it is, but we've studied some really bad. It's not any worse than the Easter translation. All right, and it's no worse than the Unicorn translation. All right, so we've studied a lot of translation issues that are just blatant. Often are how I could describe them. All right, but I don't want to draw that out. So it's antelope, not badger, and that's no biggie either way. All right, but where it gets important, all right, is the colors up here. Verse 4, and blue and purple, and scarlet and fine linen. All right, and goat's hair. Okay, purple stands for royalty, right? All right, Christ, the King, dressed in purple. All right, scarlet. All right, blue, scarlet, fine linen. If you look it up, it's bleached white. That's what it means. So the colors that you actually see in the tabernacle of the congregation in the wilderness, and then later in the first temple, and then again in the second temple, the main colors are red, white, and blue, and the secondary colors are purple and yellow. All right. Now, yellow shows up in our flag. I don't know, we don't have an incident here, but if you had to take an American standard, you ever see one that's got a yellow fringe that goes all the way around it?
I've also seen them with the stars outlined in yellow.
Yeah, that's one too. The official one is the one on the rim. Yeah, all right, that's the official American Christian standard. All right, so red, white, and blue, trimmed in yellow, with the king wearing purple. All right. So we've seen a land that we take over little by little from the people that built it for us. All right. Just like that. Decked in red, white, and blue. Think about, was it Betsy Ross? Isn't she the one that put together the first flag?
It was.
Yes, Betsy Ross. I'm sure it is.
Well,
yeah.
Actually, the first flag was sewn together by George Washington's wife. It
Uh,
was the very first flag that was ever made.
well, what was the one that gets you? We get the national ensign that we get credit for the 13 stars is Betsy Ross, right?
No, it was her. It was Washington's wife.
Well.
She refined it afterwards.
Well,
And
maybe.
it was hers that was officially adopted by.
Well,
the
whoever
United States,
came, who got it, nailed the colors right on.
Yeah, wow.
All right,
Yeah,
it was red, white, and blue,
Yeah.
and then make it a Christian standard with yellow,
Yeah.
and we don't have a king except Christ. So.
Nice, yeah.
There's our colors, all contained in it. So you'd walk in that temple and you would see the main colors that you would see
flag.
are red and blue, and then all the choir is dressed in white. All right, so there's your red, white, and your blue. Remember, that's there to be music sung in the sanctuary 24 hours, all the time. All right, so the choir was always there and working and singing. So the permanent colors are red, white, and blue in the temple. All right, so to think that we don't get tied down, let's take that just a little bit farther then, all right? So the cherubims, we're talking about the temple, red, white, and blue. Cherubim, man, the ox, the eagle, and lion. They're the ones that look in on the Ark of the Covenant and the tabernacle that we're getting ready to talk about, right? All right, think about us, all right? The man, the ox, the eagle, and the lion all apply to us. And the man, we take all of our money, we take our old leaders and we put it on our money. The man, the ox. Beef is the preferred meat from coast to coast. We have millions of dollars tied up in the meat market in beef worldwide. So the ox, the man, the ox, the lion, is the other standard. We're Christian. And if you're Christian, you're camped.
Yeah.
Well, you're camped under the lion of the tribe of Judah. All right, and so the lion, and then the eagle, red, white, and blue, and our national bird. All right, could have been turkey, but it wasn't. It's the eagle.
It's close to being turkey.
Yeah, it was close, but it didn't, but it's not. All right, and none of that's by accident. All right, we're a nation of peeled faces. We come from a land that from coast to coast is divided by water. It says spoiled. It'd be one big piece of land if it wasn't spoiled with all this water. Oh, poor us. All right, so no doubt we're just dug knee deep in it. All right, and we got to start remembering that, because if you remember that book of Revelation sneaking up on us, and all those people that testify against the Antichrist are all sealed out of these tribes that we're studying here in the book of Exodus. There's some shifting goes around because of some sins that occur between here and now. But for the most part, it's the same patriarchs, just lesser families fill in for major houses when they screw up too bad to continue. But the good news is, if you study the book of Revelation, the last time they're mentioned, they're all back in their spot. So they do pretty good during the millennium, is what you can get out of that. All right. And to us, that's you, that's me. That's people that we will see bear the mark of the beast, all right, and then have to be taught in the millennium. All right. There are friends or people we know. All right, so there's a lot of things coming up, and it all links to these tribes. All right, these same tribes marked by those same standards, marked under those same colors, all camped under the line of the tribe of Judah, which is Christ himself. All right, and more people are starting to come to and see these kind of things. All right, it's not just me. It's been a long time. I've known these things for many years, but as time goes on, more and more people are starting to reach out and understand these things about the tribes and where they come from. Most of us, with a few exceptions, can't take our lineage back more than, say, great-grandparents maybe.
Yeah.
All right? If you ask somebody now, it sounds racist looking to say, well, what are your people? But it used to be something we would ask. We'd ask, well, what's your... Yeah. Oh, my family's Irish, or my family's Italian. I mean, they kind of knew where they came from. All right? Now, we've been studying this book in Exodus now. There's twice now between Genesis and Exodus that we've seen God use famine to move, Abraham, pushes Abraham, all the way into Egypt. Famine again moves Joseph and his sons all into Egypt.
And it seems every time they move, they're multicultural. More people.
That's right. Now think about how many times through history since then that we've had famines and different things, different climate conditions that have driven population, one population from one area to another,
join
moved them
two
around to join
populations
another
together.
population.
Yeah.
Right? Well, none of these things were by accident. All of them were design. God hasn't lost the 12 tribes of Israel. We only see
moving around
one.
like chess
We've lost the 12 tribes. All right? We can only count for Jews. That's a tribe. That's one of 11, or one of 12, excuse me. So there are 11 more. And we know Judah. Okay, we know Judah. All right, and we know that some of Levi's there then, because the Levites were among these tribes, because they were scattered. All right. We know that probably some Benjamin is actually there. And we know their geographical territories. But just like according to the Abrahamic covenant, it goes all the way back to Abraham. Well, these people become nations, all right, and groups of nations. And as we continue into the book of Genesis, you'll start seeing these patriarchs and the promises made to them. And it's like God flat tells them, the child that you have two nations in your womb. It's not just, or he's going to be a nation, or excuse me, or a mighty people. Or things like that. So those are the subjects that we're following, and all those people are still in play. Anyway, that's enough for tonight. That should be enough for people to chew on. For many people, that's new ideas. And hopefully not. Hopefully for many people, it's old hat. But it don't hurt to refresh, even if it is. All right, you guys have a good night.